it is totally conceivable that heading into this weekend, Thomas was not fully prepared, at least in terms of his side deck for Magnet Fiendsmith. Not saying he doesn't inherently know what the cards do. There's a difference between being prepared and knowing what the cards do and being prepared to the point of actually putting cards in your side deck. And therefore, when looking through his side deck construction, he might had to realize that ultimately Super Polymerization had to stay in his main deck. With that being said, though, we are now in the end phase, which we have jokingly called main phase 3 throughout the weekend, and really for the last several events for Branded, because we're going to have multiple effects. The Ecclesia is going to bounce back the hand because Albion was sent to the graveyard this turn. And we're going to have Albion set, looks like 8 Branded in High Spirits. Might potentially give off the read to James that there's a Fallen of the Virtuous set there, furthest to the left under the Guiding Quem, but we'll allow things to play out and see exactly what that is, though there is a possibility it gets banished face down.
Yeah, if you are checking the hand like we are for James, that's definitely an evenly matches the center card. And we're in the battle phase, so in the battle phase, looks like we're going to go ahead and activate as many cards as we can before it reaches the end of the battle phase.
First of which will be a copy of Branded in High Spirits. He'll be sending that Ecclesia from his hand down, a Grand Ganol from his extra deck to the graveyard. You know, this is one of the ways that he can limit the damage of that evenly matched and get at least some value, right? He's going to be able to add Cartesia to his hand, establish the Grand Ganol in the graveyard.
Into battle?
Okay, now we're down to 4. Here comes the evenly matched. Now the Fallen and Virtuous is going to be activated. This is going to allow him also now to send down a fusion monster like Rinbrum that establishes a future piece of interaction. He's going to destroy his Fallen of the White Dragon. Now he's going to banish face down his Ecclesia, and now he has Guiding Quem. Quem now is going to be able to activate because a monster was sent from the fusion deck, or rather, a fusion monster was sent from the extra deck. Yeah,
ooh, that's some Yu-Gi-Oh history.
Yeah, I'm in 2003 over here. A extra deck monster was sent, happened to be a fusion that now allows him to put Ecclesia on the field. So now he is threatening the Ecclesia effect.
Just a great way to basically dodge the sort of subtractive value that Evenly Matched provides, but now we're really getting to the combos here. Oh, there's the Droll and Lockbird on adding the Fiendsmith tracked from the deck to the hand. So this is really going to be difficult because this deck doesn't just rely on that. It does send cards to the graveyard too, as it's doing now in order to summon this Magnet Warrior. But, I mean, you really want to add cards to the hand. I mean, think about it. This is an Adamancipator Magnet Warrior Fiendsmith deck. Droll and Lockbird actually hurts quite a bit.
Yeah, this is probably the best single card in his entire deck. The Conduction Warrior, Linear Magnet, plus, minus. Sometimes people think about the effect of something like Circular being powerful. How about a double Circular for 2 Magnet Warriors from your deck to the graveyard in order to special summon it?
So certainly Magnet Warriors have faced Droll and Lockbirds before, so let's see how James handles this. A little stuff, but not completely, but now it's time for a Fusion Summon. We've got our Despian Proskinian back on the field, really leaning on that card that not every duelist chooses, but I can see why. Now it's time for Synchro, Link Summon. What are we doing? It's going to be a Fusion, actually. It's going to be the Flux Oschenfeld back on the field.
I suppose the Civic Minus, affect the dump.
And now that brings back the Sigma Minus. The Sigma Minus is now going to allow him to send a level 8 Magna Warrior to the graveyard.
I would then proceed to activate.
It's almost like James is saying, what Droll and Lockbird? First I was worried, but should have believed. A Magnet Warrior of this caliber is ready for anything.
So we see the Flux Quick effect, the returning of an Earth monster, and a card on Thomas's side of the field. Now we see that Fallen of Albaz combining with that Flux in order to establish Mirror Jade. I will say, you know, sometimes you talk to players who pilot decks like Branded and they say, yeah, evenly matched, it's all right, but I'll figure it out. And I think here Thomas has really illustrated that in the battle phase, he was able to navigate through his Fallen and the Virtuous, his Branded High Spirits, and the access to the cards that he had to navigate such that he was able to still establish something to do in main phase 2. I mean, so far we've seen multiple points of interaction through that evenly matched. He's established Mirror Jade. He's used Fallen of Albaz.
Certainly a
we saw
great
the
read.
Ecclesia.
It's a great read for him to just sort of pack things up. I mean, it's pretty obvious when your opponent goes second, they say end of battle phase, right? As you try to proceed to that they're going to evenly match you. Sometimes people bluff in that way, but I think Thomas took him at his word. And you're right. I mean, look at the position. You wouldn't even know that an evenly matched happened. And as we approach the end phase here, look at all these effects. I always think of Branded as almost like a role-playing game, right? Where you get to this sort of phase where all of the players working together to get all the different effects off, getting ready for that next turn in this turn-based game.
Whenever you activate a card effect.
Wow, I mean, getting ready. That's like the entire branded kit.
And Telusian will allow him to destroy a monster because Thomas activated an effect, or when Thomas activates an effect.
Yes.
He also will be able to tribute off to summon 2 banished Magnet Sigma monsters specifically.
Again, we're still doing this all in the end phase, even synchro summoning.
It's gonna add.
And it's not a quick effect. Okay.
It's a trigger effect.
Okay. I will then go ahead and activate Telusian.
3 Champions of Sword Soul.
And then secondary
Really,
effect,
really
contribute
neat
itself to
card
reborn
that's
too.
done a lot of things for a lot of different decks. But here it's just kind of doing the job effectively, right?
Yeah, it allows him to add a level 4/8 spellcaster that has this attack that equals defense. Now, in some cases, that could be Witness of the Ancients, if we're looking at an Angelic deck, or it could obviously be something within that branded Ecclesia 1500 stat line. So,
And new to Chaos Origins, I think I see it, but he's not choosing it. Could be Farah the Primordial Goddess, who I think is 2800, 2800. But Blazing Cartesia, another eligible target for that, hitting the field.
and the 3 Champions also has a negation and potential destruction effect as well. So, it's a card that has really, I'd say, revolutionized the branded strategy, but it has really added, I mean, the branded strategy probably didn't need yet another branch to go on, but another really powerful branch to consider, and another inclusion in the extra deck. Here, though, we see Thomas continue on knowing full well that there's only 30 seconds remaining here in the match. Hopefully, whatever it is that he intends on summoning is there for him. It is a copy of Lubellion. Lubellion in defense mode, right? Lubellion's not able to attack the turn that it uses its effect. So he is going to now conduct a fusion summon.
Would you shuffle back?
To Albion.
He is going to put down Boral for Furious Dragon, destroying 2, going to the battle phase. He's going to try to attack. Can he do it? There's only 8 seconds left.
And I'll go battle and then Mirror Jade effect.
The clock is perfectly
Mirror
synced
Jade.
up.
Declare Mary Jade.
Banish and attack.
Banish attack.
And he
Okay.
concedes.
Now remember, that 0 up on the
Yes.
clock there is not perfectly synced up to the judge's clock, so there likely were a few seconds. There wasn't somebody just trying to slip on by the radar. But good work. Wow, to see the branded deck in that level of play, that level of speed, what evenly matched, right? I mean, able to get all those resources back, and the 3 Champions of the Sword Soul, you know, I know exactly why so many brand enthusiasts were so excited to see it, because we didn't know when we were going to have it added, and now it's here, and look at what it gets done. So again, Swiss round 13, Thomas is your winner. He is that much closer to making top 8.
Unfortunately for James, that means he is going to move forward with an X3 record, I believe. So, the Magnet Warrior fans out there, this may not necessarily be the event where we see one placed into the top 8, but you never know. There will be probably at least 1 or 2 X3s that do, in fact, make it into the top 8. But it's been a great tournament so far for James. Very impressive to pilot Magnet Warriors this far into day 2.
Well, for those who don't make it, there's obviously a long road ahead of them to the 2027 World Championship, but it's starting to... We're starting to see the crystallization of the Chaos Origins format, because effectively, you know, the Chaos Origins regionals are coming up, and like people still who are watching, who are playing here at this event, they've got to figure out what they're going to continue to do forward. Magnet Warrior honestly seem really good.
It's a scary deck. If it's, you know, it's one of the many decks that if it goes uninterrupted can establish, as you mentioned, Naturia Beast earlier, can establish a board that's, you know, for all intents and purposes, very difficult, if not sometimes impossible to break through. So it's definitely one of those strategies. It's certainly under the radar as well. I think once you sit down and learn what the cards do, and you realize, oh, Circular has always been a pretty powerful card. It's been forbidden at some points in time. And then you read a card that is basically a double Circular, and you say, well, how can't this be the best deck? It really can be eye-opening once you sit down and actually learn the Magnet Warrior cards. But for all intents and purposes, putting aside the Magnet Warriors probably for the remainder of the weekend, branded, though, a deck that we see here performing well, still out there, branded, Cool Tune, obviously Light and Darkness Ritual. But these are some of the decks that really, in Elf Notes, I think, are really the 4 decks that are rising to the top right now.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of Blitzkrieg tournaments, or players in the tournament that we saw earlier, but most of that action seems to be happening in Genesis right now. But I think there's still some gas left in the tank as we figure out the Chaos Origins format. But just interesting to see that branded, which seemed to be almost missing the entire weekend, was really, really good. But speaking of really, really good, why don't we throw it to hear about our really, really good duelist?
All right, Tom, down to the wire. I was getting a little bit nervous. What are you feeling right now? Relieved?
Yeah, I was very nervous. I often get a bit shaky when there's time near, because you kind of like, you need to go really fast. So I had a lot more stuff than him. I probably had 100 ways to win the game, and luckily I got there at the end.
Okay, when it was all done and you knew you got that victory, what were you thinking?
I was very happy. I was a little flustered after the second game because I thought I was kind of in a winning position, and then I lost it. And I also made a little mistake where I packed up my cards because my opponent said that he had attacked for 8,000 damage, and I believed him because it looked like a lot of damage. And then one of the table judges said, wait a second, that's not 8,000. So there was a little bit of a, back and forth, but I think it's fair enough. Like, I picked up my cards, which I shouldn't have done. So you do have to concede the game at that point. But I was happy I could win. It's always quite stressful when you're going in short on time though, but yeah, I'm happy I got there.
Okay, you did get the W though, and a few wins under your belt here. So are you feeling confident? Are you going to make top 8? What's that face mean?
I'm nervous. It's I feel like when you're playing on day one, it's tough. But yeah, I guess you're not really like thinking about making top 8. You're just playing. But then second day, so I won 4 rounds today, which is great, and I'm excited. Yeah.
Okay, great. And let's talk about your deck a little bit. So it was Dogmatika branded. Why this deck?
I've been playing it for a little bit. It's honestly like one of the most fun decks that I've played, which I think, some decks you play, they can, they have like some linear combos, whereas Branded plays like really interactive games. So I've been enjoying it. I think it's like good for an event, you can play it, because you're going to be playing it like 16 times if you're lucky, or if you go play the side events or whatever. So it's really good to be playing a deck that's like you really enjoy.
Okay, so